Hey everyone, today we'll be tackling about one of the beautiful literature of the Philippines entitled An Open Letter to Filipino Artist by Emmanuel Lacaba from Region 11 or the beautiful region of Davao. Before we proceed, I have prepared questions here for you to answer. What is the significance of Filipino artists in today's generation? If you are given the chance to give message to Filipino artist, what would it be? And lastly, do you dream on becoming a Filipino artist? If yes, why? If no, why not? So now let us talk about Emmanuel Agapito Flores Lacaba's life, or commonly known as Emmanuel Lacaba. Emmanuel Lacaba was a Filipino writer, poet, essayist, playwright, short story writer, scriptwriter, songwriter, and an activist. Often referred to as the poet warrior of the Philippines. He was born on December 10, 1948 in Cagayan de Oro, Misamis Oriental, Philippines. He was died at the age of 27 on March 18, 1976. He was often called a brown rimbud, which means an infant terrible, much like the French poet. He was a voracious reader and began writing poetry as early as 14. Lacaba was top of his class as editor-in-chief of the school newspaper, president of the drama club, and the head of the student council. So Lacaba was born in Cagayan de Oro and lived there with his family until moving to Pateros at the age of 7. After attending to Ateneo Manila University, he worked in a variety of fields as a teacher, production hand, and stage actor. During this time, he also became deeply involved in labor movements such as Panulat para sa Kaunlaran ng Sambayanan or Paksa, as well as leftist political groups like the New People's Army. A prolific diarist and writer, Jose Lacaba wrote of his brother Emmanuel. When there was no more paper to write on, he would write on the backs of cigarette tinfoil. As Emmanuel became more deeply involved with the New People's Army and with other guerrilla groups opposed to martial law under the Marcos dictatorship, he went deeper into the Philippines underground, but his poems and stories continued to circulate and find wide readership. Lacaba, along with 3 other dissidents, was killed on March 18, 1976 in Tukaan, Balaag, Asuncion, Davao del Norte by members of the Integrated Civilian Home Defense Forces. He had been set to go back shortly to the city of a new assignment that would have used his writing skills, and had agreed to write a script for director Lino Broca once he got back there. The works of Emmanuel Lacaba includes Awit ni Kuwala, the song sung by Lolita Rodriguez in the classic Lino Broca masterpiece, Tinimbang Ka Ngunit Kulang. He also composed new revolutionary lyrics in Cebuano for some well-known folk songs. The poet Luis Francia included Lacaba's work in a portfolio of Filipino poems for the 45th issue of Bomb. Bomb is an American arts magazine edited by artists and writers, published quarterly in print and daily online. His work has been collected in 2 anthologies, Salvage Poems, 1986, and Salvage Prose, 1992. Emmanuel Lacaba's awards are the book Six Young Filipino Martyrs states, "Not many poets are given the honor of becoming martyrs for their country. In the Philippines, there are only 2, Jose Rizal and a discipline he never knew, Emmanuel Lacaba." The Cultural Center of the Philippines, or CCP, confers the Gawad Eman Lacaba Award to young poets. Lacaba and his brother Pete were accorded the distinction of being among the top 100 Filipinos in culture. The Ateneo de Manila University paid tribute to Lacaba on December 8 to 14, 2002. So now, let us move forward to the vocabulary, words and their meaning. Bourgeois. The meaning of bourgeois is middle class. Not rich, not poor, but in between. Long-barreled gun. The meaning of long-barreled gun is rifles. Husk is a shell or a covering. Bohemia. Bohemia is an artistic people and the areas they frequent. Lumpen culturati. Lumpen culturati means uninterested in the culture. Holographic. Holographic means three-dimensional projected image by something or someone. Brown rimbud. Brown rimbud is an infant terrible. Faciest. Faciest is a follower of a political philosophy or movement. Messiah. Messiah is Christ or the Savior. And lastly, peasants. Peasants is a poor farmer of low social status. And now, let us explore and understand the An Open Letter to Filipino Artist by Emmanuel Lacaba. A poet must also learn how to lead an attack. Ho Chi Minh. The first part of the poem. Invisible the mountain routes to strangers, for rushing toes on an inch wide stripped on boulders, and for the hand that's free a twig to grasp, or else we headlong fall below to racks. And waterfalls of death so instant that too soon they're red with skulls of carabaos. But patient guides and teachers are the masses, of 40 mountains and 100 rivers, of plowing, planting, weeding, and the harvest, and of a dozen dialects that dwarf this foreign tongue we write each other in, who must transcend our bourgeois origins. So the first part of the poem, An Open Letter to Filipino Artists by Emmanuel Lacaba, was written South Cotabato, May 1, 1975. The second part of the poem, An Open Letter to Filipino Artists by Emmanuel Lacaba. You want to know, companions of my youth, how much has changed the wild but shy young poet, forever writing last poem after last poem. You hear his dark as earth, barefoot, a turban round his head, a bulu at his side, his ballpen blown up to a long-barreled gun, deeper still the struggling change inside. Like husk of coconut he tears away the billion layers of his selfishness, or learns to cage his longing like the bird of legend, far and song with his chest. Now of consequence in his anemia, from lack of sleep, no longer for Bohemia, the Lampen Culturati, but for the people, yes. He mixes metaphors but values more a holographic and geometric memory. For mountains not because they are there, but because the masses are there where routes are jigsaw puzzles he must piece together. Through he has been called a brown rimbud, he is no bandit, but a people's warrior. So the second part of the poem was written in South Cotabato and Davao del Norte on November 1975. The last part of the poem, An Open Letters to Filipino Artists by Emmanuel Lacaba. We are the tribeless and all tribes are ours. We are homeless and all homes are ours. We are nameless and all names are ours. To the faciest we are the faceless enemy, who come like thieves in the night, angels of death, the ever-moving, shining, secret eye of the storm, the road less traveled by we've taken, and that has made all the difference. The barefoot army of the wilderness, all should be in time awakened. The masses are Messiah. Here among workers and peasants are lost. Generation has found its true, its only home. The third part of the poem was written in Davao del Norte on January 1976. So now let us proceed in the literary analysis. Philippine society and its people have undergone centuries of struggle and resistance against the evils that perpetuate and permit an exploitative and oppressive system. It is specific to the existence of colonizer and imperialists who, in all their power, do everything to maintain the status quo. As Marx and Engels say, the history of all hitherto existing in society is the history of class struggle. This then manifests itself in the different forms of action that the basic masses take in order to join the collective struggle of abolishing repressive system and destroying inhumane culture and practices. Those who participate in this fight vary from advocates, activists, parents, youth, workers, artists, farmers, performers, and among others. Filipino poet and revolutionary Emmanuel Lacaba joined the people's struggle through writing and participating in the armed revolution. Lacaba's An Open Letter to Filipino Artists depicts the participation of artists and youth in joining the masses as the encounter towards liberating the society, but particularly through the richness of imagery. This poem was written during the dark years of martial law under the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos. It is a three-part poem written from 1975 up until 1976 in South Cotabato and Davao del Norte. Furthermore, Emmanuel Agapito Flores Lacaba, or mostly referred to as Eman Lacaba, participated in the first quarter storm of 1970 during martial law and other protests which showed the people's resistance against the Marcos tyrannical ruling. The poem is a reenactment of a sensory experience of his encounters in the mountains as a part of the armed revolution and as the writer that serves as the people. Here, Lacaba lives up to the definition of literature as a written account of human experience as he used literary devices that breathe life to the words that he used to narrate and agitate its readers. It also shows the encounters of artists and youth in the revolutionary movement towards freeing the society as manifested in the struggles and mundane experiences. It is not only interesting and substantial because of its characteristics and intelligent manifestation of the elements, but also because it arouses feelings and ideas of resistance to its readers, despite not being able to encounter what the author actually did. Figures of speech were also richly used in order to further engage its readers in journey towards freeing the society. Personification and hyperbole are used to emphasize the encounter in these mountains, such as feeling of rushness as well as the sacrifices and suffering for the sake of forwarding the calls of the masses. Moreover, metaphors and similes are more evident throughout the three parts of the poem. The simile, dark as earth, and description of being barefoot elaborates the humble characteristic of the young writer and how they continue to remold themselves from individualist lifestyles towards a collective culture through the line, like husk of coconut he tears away. It is also highlighted through enjambment of lines that causes tearing away layers of selfishness and confining other unnecessary desires. And in this journey to the mountains and remolding, it is not simple and is comparable to navigate one's way through a jigsaw puzzle. One of the noticeable metaphors in the last part of the poem is the line that says, "Awakened, the masses are Messiah." It serves as a call to action or as the encouragement towards artists to join the people's struggle, for it is the basic masses that would save us from the perils of the system we are confined to. Contradicting lines or irony is also evident, specifically in the three lines of the last part. It speaks that as individuals we can lose our homes and our names, but as a part of a larger society, we can share these homes and identity with the people that we encounter. Overall, the author speaks of the process that a young writer goes through as they participate in the resistance, may it be through writing and other forms. Lacaba describes this process with the use of words that extracts beauty from sacrifices, encouraging all other writers and the Filipino youth to channel their talents in partaking in the liberation of Philippine society. As a, as a martyr and an activist during the Marcos regime, the words of Emmanuel Lacaba remain relevant today because we continue to experience the same problems even if it is portrayed by different faces. Essentially, the Filipino people continue to confined in the same exploitative system that drives them to resist. Lacaba's poem also resonates until today in a universal aspect, for we are in a collective struggle and a shared experience with other nations who are oppressed by the ruling of class. And that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.